Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Rule 34 podcast, Season 2. I'm your host, Jack, joined by my fellow co-host,
Dominic Castillo.
Alright. How have you been, Dom?
I have been pretty good. Nothing much has happened as of lately. Everything's been feeling pretty slow. I've been looking around for, I guess, like side projects to do, like I guess like personal hobby type stuff, like 3D printing and stuff like that. But I mean, aside from that, nothing much has happened as of late. How about you, Jack? How have you been?
Been doing well. Just been relaxing, working out. Not really doing much in a sense. I mean, I don't know. I've been trying to catch up on a lot of things that I haven't had the time lately to do.
Right.
Like I've been just, watching certain shows or movies that I haven't watched. Playing through certain games that I haven't gotten the chance to either finish playing or replaying through,
Yeah.
But that's pretty much all I've been doing.
It do be like that. I don't think there are many news stories for the time being. I think what was it? I think a celebrity, Ezra Miller, has done something pretty bad today. I think, or was it yesterday? I believe he kidnapped somebody.
Oh well, that's surprising in the sense of that's worse than his previous incidents, but again,
yeah.
It's not surprising to see the name Ezra Miller in the news at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, I just think that's kind of insane thinking he's going to be able to escape from the law, considering he's a well-known celebrity. I think I'm not sure if he's well-known, but I think he played the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm not sure. But to capture somebody, kidnap somebody, and thinking they're going to get away with it, I don't know. I feel this is just going to be the end of his career, or just the end of I guess, his life overall reputation, considering he's not going to be known as this horrible person from now on.
Yeah, I don't know how they just allow Ezra Miller to get away with all this. Because think about it, he's had all those incidents, especially in Hawaii, of like causing ruckus and assaulting people, and it's just like, how the heck does like the bail keep getting posted and stuff, and how do they still remain an active as far as I know, they're still an active member of the Warner Bros. Like I'm pretty sure Ezra Miller is still listed and casted as the Flash, and there's supposed to be a Flash movie coming out, and it's like, how is that still listed to happen and stuff, especially when I mean, it's like similar to Amber Heard's role in Aquaman 2, where people don't want her in it at all. People were willing to protest the movie because of the things going on with her,
Yeah.
They wanted someone to be recast, and so it's like, why hasn't Ezra Miller been recast at any point at this point? How are they still allowing that man to be casted, and in a sense, like still continue in this role? Because I haven't heard anything from Warner Bros., DC, any of those people that are just like, oh, he's fired, he's, released from his contract, whatever you want to state,
Yeah. Man. I guess we'll see what happens. Also, speaking on the Amber Heard stuff, have you seen the recent interviews? Or, like, the recent only single interview that happened after the test courts?
No.
The trial courts?
No.
For a small little recap, I believe Amber Heard had an interview, and it was like some of the most. It felt wrong. It felt horrible. She tried to like manipulate every piece of information just so it could look into her favor in terms of her abuse against Johnny Depp and stuff like that. And the interviewer fell for none of it. She tried to like completely like defy everything, and Amber Heard just kept on like coping hard to try to make everyone understand that she was the one in the right, and then Johnny Depp was in the wrong. I think you should give a look at it later on. But it, how would you say it? It's like I feel like it's like it might be just straight up manipulation of the information, trying to manipulate the media, and it just doesn't sit right with me, to be honest with you. But yeah, nothing much else has been going on. Internet Explorer is gonna die off this Wednesday. I think Microsoft is gonna stop dying, which is pretty crazy considering Internet Explorer, before Netscape, of course, was one of the biggest internet browsers of its time. Pretty crazy, insane.
One of the slowest too.
It is pretty much one of the slowest browsers out there, but it was one of the first.
It was one of the first. And you know what else was one of the first, Dom?
What was one of the los primeros?
Akira.
Indeed so.
Let's get into that.
Yeah.
Alright, Dom. So, I think you're more well-versed. I feel like you're probably more well-versed on this topic, Dom. So, explain to the fans kind of the history and essentially what the movie Akira is.
Okay, so the movie Akira is a film, a Japanese animated film, released in 1988. Many might know this as a really old film, considering its art designs and such as of the time. However, I don't think many know that much of the scale, of the absolute scale that this movie has brought on to, I guess, the influence of many other films and artists coming forward. The reason why was because this was like one of the first ever films to like, take on a big approach into taking a large, a story, being the Akira manga, but to introduce a lot of different like sequences in terms of like the way the art is drawn, how the voice acting is done, the amount of budget that was introduced, which was I think like 1.1 billion yen, which is like 5 million. I think it's like 5 million introduced in, I think, back at the time, $5 million, which was like one of the biggest budgets back in the time. And I honestly think that's pretty crazy. But not only that, but this was, I think, one of the first movies that I think introduced to first voice act the movie to then animate afterwards, if you catch my drift. Because I think beforehand, I think you would first animate and draw the scenes out and then have the voice actors throw in their lines afterwards. But this was reversed to see how it would play out. And it was absolutely mind-blowing to see how they did that. I believe multiple studios, not just one studio, it was multiple studios to work on this one film. And I honestly think but not only that, but considering it had to be multiple studios with multiple different graphic designers to work on one single, graphical design that they had to follow. But not only that, they had to work on each intricate detail, from like the shadows of rocks to like small cracks in concrete floors or the asphalt. The amount of detail that was placed into the movie was absolutely astonishing. But the story itself was also like really like demanding of the viewer's attention of what was really going on behind the scenes. I believe since it was 1988, and this was definitely after World War II, the main story definitely focuses on, I guess, government corruption, going against like government testing of things. But I don't want to. I don't know, Jack. Should I spoil the movie?
Well, we're gonna get into the plot soon, but just real quickly, wanted to get a quick summary of it for the people who maybe haven't heard of this movie, which would kind of be surprising. But I also saw this, Dom. This is an interesting fact. You know, as you bring up all these different studios working on it and stuff, the film had a production budget of 700 million yen, which is an equivalent to $5.5 million. And its combined production and advertising budget reached 1.1 billion yen, equal to 9 million.
Oh, wow.
So, there was definitely a ton of money put into this movie. And it also, you know, it was like, you know, we bring up the first because, you know, it was definitely one of those ones that broke through, especially, it was one of like those like first few animes that really broke through the bunch, you know?
Yeah.
Because as you know, it got a big following in the U.S. I think if I remember correct, I mean it was successful, I think, in Japan, but you know, it wasn't like, you know, anything big in a sense, you know.
Right.
But then when it got to the States, you know, basically because people hadn't really seen much animation, you know, in the States, it got big because of, you know, just, I mean, you would expect it to be pretty big with the amount of budget that went into it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, we also have to think about during the time. What was it? I think it was only viewable through VHS.
Mm-hmm.
So not everyone had VHS tapes during the time. But once it started becoming mainstream, and then CDs started popping up back in like the 1990s. I think that's when it was truly expanding in terms of its, I guess, worldwide significance. I'd say.
Yeah. Pretty big. You know, it got pretty big in the U.S. It's a pretty notable film. But I guess let's get straight into the plot for this, Dom. So you brought up, you know, not wanting to spoil, but technically when it comes to our reviews of things, it's pretty much, you should know, it isn't going to be spoiler free for the most part, unless, you know, with certain movies, films, shows, if there's like a significant plot twist, we might leave that out just so you yourself, if you decide to watch it, play through whatever we're reviewing, you know, you can still experience that. Like, for example, when we were talking about our games, and I was talking about BioShock, I didn't bring up the plot twist that's in the first BioShock game, because I think that's something every single person should be able to experience for themselves.
Yeah.
But so let's get into the plot first, Dom. I'll let you start it off by just giving any quick summaries of scenes or anything of the plot that you want to explain.
Yeah, so basically the story begins in 1988. I believe World War III has begun, and boom, like a huge bomb, right? Pretty crazy. And essentially what happened is that Tokyo gets destroyed in 1988. So we just then go forward in time, I believe a good, all the way into 2019, which is funny considering 2019 was just 3 years ago from the recording of today. So we go to year 2019, in which 1988 Japan believed was going to be the sort of like a futuristic Tokyo. Obviously, looking at it now, I mean, not that close, but it's a little close. Looking at 2019 Tokyo, we follow the character named Shotaro Kaneda and his friend. Tatsuro Shima. There you go, Tatsuro Shima. They're good best friends. However, they're working together as, I guess, a rebel, like a rebel group against a clown gang. Fighting back and forth using their bikes, and the bikes are like a futuristic type of bike, like with mechanics and stuff like that. However, they use these bikes to roll around, obviously. And then from that point on, I believe some sort of background deals are going on with the military, what was it? Experiments on, what was it called? Basically, they're creating experiments with little children to try to see how they can work with the telepathic beings which is very weird, but that's how the story is played out. But that in and of itself, the experimental, like on children type thing, that's basically meant to like talk about like experiments done on people, which is obviously going against that in this story. However, going further into the story, I believe, what was it? Oh damn, I'm forgetting. Kaneda is now protesting, and I believe Tetsuo and Kaneda get caught by the federal forces, I believe. And from that point on, they get interrogated. Kaneda meets another person named Kei.
Wait, you're leaving out a key detail. So,
what was it?
It's they're fighting the rival gang at the very start, and it's upon chasing down the rival gang member that it's Kaneda, right? He's the one that crashes into this kid who's one of the like telepathic beings.
Yeah.
And he gets injured from that, and the government who's tracking down this kid, gets to that point, and even though they're technically bystanders, like you said, they're taken in for interrogation while Kaneda is taken away to a hospital is what they tell them, but they don't tell him which hospital because in reality it's the government's facility hospital that they're monitoring him and, it's again experimenting because in the crash with the other kid that's a telepath, it's kind of like they connect in a way and that causes Kaneda to start having those type of powers.
Yeah.
But continue.
Okay, yeah, my bad. I was just trying to remember.
Or wait, no,
okay, so,
no, is it Tetsuo that? No, Tetsuo is the one that crashed, right?
Tetsuo is the one that keeps chasing after one of the clown from the clown gang, and then he crashes into the
yeah. There we go. Sorry, I confused the two. Yeah, Tetsuo is the one that crashed. Kaneda is the friend that gets interrogated, along with their other friend group from their gang.
Yeah, Tetsuo is the one that crashes, and then Kaneda gets interrogated. But then he meets a girl and stuff like that. But then going back to Tetsuo, he gets visited and greeted by a doctor, and then runs tests on him. Now knowing the information that Tetsuo is now one of the same, or at least follows the same traits as the telepathic children. What was the name of the kid? Now I think about it, Takashi, I think.
I think so.
The kid's name's Takashi. He's one of the children that is known to have telepathic, I guess, telekinesis per se, and the government is trying to chase after the kid, and they captured the kid along with Tetsuo when he crashed. Afterwards, in the hospital or in the government facility, they run tests on Tetsuo, and they see that he also has the same telekinesis type of abilities, similar to Takashi. And so they run tests on him. And further on, I believe Tetsuo begins to slowly, to begin to grow his powers, considering that I believe his anger is like somewhat tied to his powers, considering he has to control his telekinesis, so it doesn't just go overboard. However, we see further later on in the story that it doesn't go out that way. Further on, Tetsuo then escapes, and then from there, I believe he has to steal Kaneda's motorcycle just to escape from there, and then he also has his girlfriend to come along with him on the ride. However, I believe it's the clowns again to ambush them. What was it? But then the Kaneda's gang, I think it's called, Kaneda's gang comes in, to save the day afterwards. However, Tetsuo then gets a migraine or something like that. Or I believe his head starts hurting. He gets, mentally burdened. And then he's then taken back to the government facility, I think. Or maybe it wasn't actually a hospital this time. But it was from this scene in which Tetsuo begins to have these sort of like nightmarish, like a dreamscape type of vibe. I believe it's like it begins with him talking with his teddy bear. If I hadn't forgotten. Afterwards, what was it? what happens afterwards? Then Tetsuo begins to, I think he begins to start ravaging the entire hospital and starts killing everyone as soon as he starts escaping.
Yeah, because he at this point he's trying to hunt down the other telekinetic children.
Yes, yeah.
So he's killing anyone in his path trying to get there. They're trying to stop Tetsuo as he's going on like this sort of onslaught and stuff, and that's kind of where like it starts building up to the main point. Is like you're trying, like at this point you're sort of getting the like background on just like who these, because it's three of them, correct? The three children.
Yeah.
I can't remember their names, but I know it's like the three telekinetic children, and in a sense, Tetsuo is going after them in a sense to try and how would you describe it? Like essentially, kind of like seeking answers from them as to like why he has these powers and stuff.
Yeah.
What else happens? Do you remember, Dom?
I mean, afterwards he just begins to like, I guess, discover more of his telekinetic abilities. Pretty much just trying to kill anyone he can. However, he gets note of the one child he needs to look for, I guess, the answers, and that's Akira, the name of the boy, who, the name of the film. But he's the main kid who Tetsuo needs to look for, I guess, for the answers as to why he's experiencing all of this mental backlash, per se. Then he finds out Akira is, for some reason, located deep beneath, like, an Olympic stadium. And so he goes there, ravishing everything he can go through. And
a key thing we forgot to mention is the government at the same time is trying to prevent this, because yes, they're the ones that are experimenting, but the colonel in this movie, who's like a key character, he tells one of the scientists that if the powers get to a point where it's out of their control, then they have to kill Tetsuo. Because when they were monitoring him, they were talking about, he has powers that rival even the kids that we have and could be greater. And I think one of the lines that the colonel says is like, could we even handle such power? Like, are we meant to handle such power, So yeah. It kind of throws that sort of like question and theme into the movie. So while all this is happening, they're also trying to hunt him down and at this point kill him, because they recognize that his powers are getting beyond control.
Yeah.
But so he goes to the Olympic Stadium on the hunt for Akira.
Yeah.
And at the same time, at the same time, Tetsuo's friends are also kind of trying to stop him too, because of obviously what he's doing.
Yeah.
But continue, Don.
Okay, my bad. Okay, so continuing on, Tetsuo tries to come back to his friends. I believe he goes back to the capsule, which is the name of the their rebel, I guess, bike group. However, he gets immediately like rejected, considering all the things he's done. And what was it afterwards? What was it? What was it again? I forget. Afterwards, he gets rejected. He gets even more angry. Getting more angry, he decides to go back to the stadium, the Olympic Stadium. I believe he gets stopped by Kay, which is one of the girlfriends, I believe, of Kaneda. Who is the girlfriend of Kaneda? However, she gets immediately defeated by Tetsuo. Kaneda gets word of this. He only is angry. Akira is discovered by Tetsuo, only to discover that Akira is not an actual child, but instead multiple jars that are filled up with like body organs such as brains and all the other important intestines that make up Akira. And then obviously Tetsuo, seeing this, is angry, considering that all this time Akira isn't a child, but instead multiple. I guess a child that was horribly experimented on to the point where he's now just left into just like 5-6 jars or something like that. Just of just organs, which is pretty disgusting. I think about it. Kaneda now hearing word of what Tetsuo is doing, he does go down to the Olympic Stadium to try to stop him. However, Tetsuo now grows even bigger in terms of physical mass with one arm, and then with his telekinetic powers, telekinesis. And I think the Colonel tries to stop him as well. However, it's not as successful. And then I believe Kaneda's given a laser rifle or some sort of large weapon, which also like a really, I guess, recognizable part of the film, with him with the laser rifle trying to destroy Tetsuo. But that doesn't work either, regardless, considering that at this point Tetsuo is just growing even more and even more into like more physical size, and it's not working. And then I think at this point Tetsuo and the Colonel start working together just to stop Tetsuo in his tracks. However, it's still not working. And then afterwards, I believe it's the three children, the telekinetic children, to try to bring back Akira into one child, so they basically revive him. And I believe it's I think at this point where all hell kind of breaks loose with Akira's revival. Now seeing that I guess Tetsuo, not knowing that it's I would just say it's Tetsuo now growing into a what was that?
Well, at this point he starts mutating and stuff like that because of his powers, and that's why they have to revive Akira to stop him. You know, especially because Kaneda's attempts don't work. The Colonel and the government fire an orbital weapon at him, and all it does is just destroy his arm. And he keeps going. He's able to just destroy the weapon and all that. So it's like at this point, reviving Akira is the only way to stop it. And so, you know, at this point, a couple of like the people have died. Obviously, like you mentioned, Key dies. I'm pretty sure, and one of their other friends, and basically, after getting sucked into this giant mutation that Tetsuo is developing into, Kaneda also gets engulfed by that. And so it's up to the other three kids, and again, they revive Akira, and they go to like take on Tetsuo. And that's when, you know, they kind of they're vowing to kill Tetsuo. But they recognize, you know, Kaneda is still alive. He's just kind of trapped in that mass that is Tetsuo. And so, you know, they rescue him, but as a result, they have to, the four of them have to sacrifice themselves as well as, you know, with killing Tetsuo. And so they're able to do that, and kind of similar to the beginning, you know, like the beginning scene of like the bomb going off. It's similar here where they kill Tetsuo, and it mirrors kind of like that beginning scene. And you know, Kaneda's rescued, and I think also don't they bring back two people who died as well?
I know that Kay's revived, I think.
Yeah.
But I think Kay also begins to have like telepathic. I remember. Yeah, Kay starts to talk to Akira. No, not Akira, Kaneda telepathically. So I think she also starts to not like. We don't know yet. We don't know that much into the future, but we know that she now can speak mentally to Kaneda.
Yeah, and so, you know. Again, they're revived, and they're left with the aftermath, and you know, Tetsuo's killed off. Do you remember the ending of this film, Dom?
I believe it's Tetsuo, along with. I'm not sure if it's Tetsuo along with Akira, but I remember that Tetsuo is somewhere else. I believe he's somewhere else, and I believe he ends off saying, "I am Tetsuo."
Yeah, so...
because he's in a different plane of existence. Yes. When he was transported by Akira into, I guess, some sort of weird singularity type beat, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so a bit long, but that's kind of the whole summary. Dom, what did you think of this movie?
Yes. Seeing it again, I'll admit I've definitely missed a good couple of points here and there. It was honestly pretty insane. The amount of detail that was placed into this movie, the storyline, although it was a bit confusing the first time, but seeing it now the second time, knowing everything in the background, what happens, it kind of makes much more sense. It's a bit strange, I'll be honest, considering that all things basically happen in a loop. Seeing how, going from 1988 to 2019, and then the same thing happening over again just because Tetsuo couldn't control his powers, leading to the demise of an entire city. Just for, I have a feeling this is all just going to happen again. In a sort of like a loop, per se. But maybe the cycle can be broken at some point. But aside from that, looking at the film now, looking at the old aesthetics, the way it was presented to the viewers, it was very interesting. It I guess immersed me a bit into the story, into like what was I looking at. Only because how would you say it? It didn't try. It tried to make itself seem natural to the viewer, in terms of like, how would you say it? No, yeah, it made itself seem natural and not just overexposed, like to over, how would you say it? Or over, I guess, to shine a light, like a large light onto one specific being or entity or environment. It made the entire scene look grudgy, but nice in a good way. Considering that this is like a sort of like dystopian society, like every single nook and cranny must be like properly implemented into the story and as it's designed. And I personally think that was honestly pretty insane of how they did it, with every single detail that was placed into the movie. The story itself, a little bit confusing. The characters, very recognizable, very, you could remember them for years on end and still remember who they are. Especially Kaneda and Tetsuo and Akira as well. But I think the overall overarching, I guess, notion of the story that falls back onto me is that this is a story that basically speaks upon and is against, I guess, government corruption per se, and like government experimentation and dealing with like nuclear weapons and such as that. Such as what happened in 1988 with the World War III setting, and then this happening again with a nuclear, with a bomb per se, with Akira, having to destroy Tetsuo, meaning again the destruction of a city, and then having to rebuild this in the future, which would I assume what would happen. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for Akira. Crazy movie. I think it was pretty insane. Would I watch it again? Definitely. Would I watch remaster of it? 100%. I'm not sure if that would ever happen, considering the amount of detail and like love they have to be putting into this film if they would try to remaster it. But maybe. I mean, it's been 30 years, like literally ever since 1988 when it was released. And then, I mean, who knows? Who knows? How about you, Jack?
Thought it was a really good movie as well. The art in it is really beautiful. Like you said, it has a really compelling story. I know maybe at times our summary of it kind of seemed either slow or like just it seemed like we were struggling to remember things, but that's because when you watch the movie you'll sort of realize it's just kind of so hard to summarize and explain. Because I'll give this for example. The first time we watched this movie, because I don't know if Dom watched it before any of us did, but in Discord with our group of friends 2 years ago now, Dom, or it's going to be 2 years in a couple months. 2 years ago, back in 2020, because everyone was pretty much bored. We were all on Discord. We were in a voice channel. And we all watched Akira. Now, what was the issue? We watched it around like 12 in the morning, and it didn't finish till like 2 in the morning. And by the end of it, the movie finishes. There's about, what was it, like 4 of us just sitting in the voice channel. And the movie finishes and no one's uttering a single word. And you're probably thinking, oh, they fell asleep. But no, one of our friends just unmutes and just goes, what the hell did we just finish watching? And everyone felt the same way. It was 2 a.m. and we were still talking until, like, I want to say almost 3, right, Dom?
Yeah.
Where we were just trying to talk and try and decipher what we just finished watching. Because, like, our friend Gio had kind of told us, like, when we were discussing wanting to review this movie, he was like, you know, again, the kind of, you'll see why we had such difficulty summarizing. If you watch it, it's like that first, like, couple, like, that first, I guess you could say, like, hour and a half of it is really easy to follow through a bit. But, like, at the halfway point / a little bit past it, you know, things just start getting really confusing. You're really having to, like, really think things and really pay attention. And then just the final scenes of the movie, so much happens that you're just left there so confused, like, yeah, what did I just finish watching? And, like, that's literally the best way I can put it is, you know, even rewatching it, you know, it felt similar. But, like, you know, the first watch experience was just one of the, like, you know, I guess you could say best experience watching a movie I've had, because it was just we finished watching it and it was just that genuine reaction of just sitting there going, what the heck did we just watch? Like that ending sequence is still, like, one of the craziest things to watch, you know.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies that, you know, you just have to watch to truly, like, understand it, you know, because having someone retell it to you just isn't enough, like, for, you know, it doesn't do it enough justice. I would definitely say this is a movie that people have to go out of their way to watch, just to, you know, because, I mean, it's just, not only is it good, you know, cinematically, but, you know, just the story of it all and just that experience of, you know, sitting there watching and just kind of having to think to yourself what you just watched. And it's not like, you know, thinking to yourself, what did you just watch, in the confusing manner where you're just like, you couldn't even understand any of it. You didn't know, like, you didn't understand any of it. You didn't really get, like, the meaning behind it. It's like one of those things where you understood everything you were watching and you're still just left essentially in utter shock of what you just finished watching.
Yeah.
It's a really great movie for sure. And you want to know what's funny, Dom?
What?
So I have the Wikipedia because I just want to see. What would you say? I just wanted to see some, like, facts about it, you know.
Yeah.
And this one's a little, like, how would you say? This one's from my dad. It says Akira was one of 4 nominees for the 2007 American Anime Awards for Best Anime Feature Award, but it lost to Final Fantasy VII's Advent Children.
Interesting.
That one's from my dad because I think I told Dom this. My dad has Akira on CD and stuff, on disc, and I'm pretty. Is this the one I remember? The Final Fantasy VII? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the one that I remember watching with my dad. That he also had, he had it on disc, and then I don't remember what happened to it. So I think it was like his birthday or Father's Day, one of the two. I bought it for him, or it was Christmas, one of those 3. I bought it for him.
That's good.
That's another movie that maybe, Dom, I'll have you watch and we can review as well. Because not only is Final Fantasy a great series, but that movie was pretty great too.
You know, I wish. Was there ever, like, this is like a question I do not know the answer of, but I'm wondering if there ever was like a theater, like, release, like, as of recently, like, we could watch it on, like, in theater.
Maybe I don't think so.
Maybe there was.
And this is another thing too, Dom, that we forgot to bring up. Do you remember when they were supposed to make a live-action remake of Akira?
That I don't know. The only thing that I know close of was just Kanye West Stronger when like they tried to like remake Akira, but no, I did not know there was a.
Apparently, it's been trying to go on since 2002.
Really?
And it's failed several times with at least 5 different directors and 10 different writers.
Holy.
And in 2017, the director from the Thor Ragnarok movie was named as the film's director for the live-action adaptation, and they had planned for a May 21st, 2021 release. And the filming was planned to start in California in July 2019. However, it was put on hold because the director had chosen to first direct Thor Love and Thunder, the sequel to Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
So, I mean, it seems like they... But I don't know. We've seen kind of that trend with anime where they want to do live-action remakes and it just doesn't go well. And maybe this one is a bit easier, but then again, looking back, again, like how I mentioned, that like final hour of the movie, I don't think you can do that live-action without it looking off or, cheesy in a sense.
Yeah. I have a bit of a bad feeling it's gonna be in I guess heavily CGI way. I mean, I just want it to look as nice as possible because I mean they have to at least how would you say it look at least very close to the original in terms of how much detail was placed into the movie. But I have a bad feeling it's just gonna be left on it's just gonna be left on the shelf just to never be done. Considering it was meant to be done back in 2021, now it's 2022, and I don't think there's ever been any any talks about or any like update on like whether they are going to begin filming or if they already begun filming or they just stopped filming and they just don't want to go back. I don't know.
But at the end of the day, a really good movie that had a really big cultural impact, as we mentioned, as it really helped anime branch out of its what's the word for its origin point? It helped it branch out and helped it break into the mainstream in other countries and different parts of the world and let it become the global phenomenon that it is today. It broke barriers. It's one of the first, along with many others. Really good. What would your final ratings for the movie be, Dom?
10 out of 10 out of 10. Maybe like close 9 out of 10. Only because the story was a little bit confusing. First time watching, like a 9.5 out of 10, just because of its absolute gigantic influence that it has on the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's definitely a great movie. Probably one of the best I've seen, but I'd have to reevaluate all the movies I've seen to truly determine if it's amongst the best I've seen,
Yeah.
And that just opens the door for another topic to discuss on an episode because I don't think you and I mean, we've given like criteria from time to time, but I don't think we've ever truly broken down, our rating system and why we give certain things a rating that we do,
Yeah.
Like if we give our ratings in comparison to other things or not, because I started thinking about it. I was like, think of all the albums we reviewed, and it's like, or like some of the music and albums we reviewed. I was like, I wonder if this thing is, like for example, if it's an 8 out of 10 on its own, but then when you compare it to another album, does it lower in ranking? So that opens the door for future discussions. But with that being said, I've been your host, Jack, joined by my fellow co-host,
Dominic Castillo.
Well, thank you all for joining us for another episode of Season 2 of the Rule 34 podcast. As always, if it exists, we have an opinion on it. Thank you, and we'll catch y'all in the next episode.